We begin by telling you that the president of Sierra Leone, Julius, has emerged as the new chairman of ECOWAS, Authority of Heads of State and Government, as Nigeria's President Bola Tinubu's two-term leadership of the bloc comes to an end. The handover took place at the 67th Ordinary Session in Abuja on Sunday, ending Tinubu's two-term leadership of the regional bloc. Contrary to earlier reports, President Bola was elected chairman and pledged to focus on restoring constitutional order, enhancing democracy, boosting regional security, advancing economic integration, and strengthening ECOWAS institutions. Tinubu was first elected chair in July 2023 and re-elected in 2024 to ensure continuity in addressing security and development challenges in West Africa. Meanwhile, President Bola Tinubu has called on West African leaders to invest in practical solutions, including better infrastructural connectivity and policies that transform the sub-region into a resilient and competitive economic hub. This was during the West African Economic Summit, which was held in Accra, Ghana. President Tinubu during the summit says that Nigeria is taking a bold step towards strengthening a regional economic cooperation. News Central's correspondent Bettina Iwili tells us more.
Nigeria has signed a bilateral integration agreement with the Republic of Benin. The pact was signed at the West African Economic Summit held in Accra, Ghana by Nigeria's Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment, Jumoke Oduwole, and Bianca Ojukwu, the Minister of State for Foreign Affairs.
Let us emerge from this summit with actionable outcomes, a renewed commitment to ease of doing business, enhance intra-regional trade, improve infrastructure connectivity, and innovative ideas that move our people from poverty to prosperity. Let us build a West African that is investable, competitive, and resilient, one that leads with vision, responsibility, and unity.
In the lead up to this summit, the Federal Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment, in close collaboration with partners across the Nigerian government and private sector, curated a deal room anchored on vetted, investment-ready opportunities. One of the most dynamic and oversubscribed sessions at the deal room yesterday was our PPP and infrastructure roundtable, where we spotlighted nearly $1 billion in live transactions, spanning carbon capture and storage, critical minerals and rare earth, compressed natural gas, and digital infrastructure.
The agreement focuses on strengthening connectivity in energy and trade, as well as the breakdown of logistical and infrastructural barriers. President of Benin, Patrice Talon, described it as a model pact for full integration and urged the ministers to implement it effectively.
I want to say in front of all of you here that President Tinubu and myself, we agree on this real and full integration between Benin and Nigeria. We are already agreed on this. We instruct our respective team, and now in front of all of you, I want to put the responsibility on the different ministers, including the one doing the translation today, to deliver this instruction. I want all the ministers behind President Tinubu, my ministers in charge of trade, Minister in charge of trade of Nigeria, and all of you, to deliver this for our people.
Liberia strongly supports the African Continental Free Trade Area as a transformative platform for economic integration.
This agreement aims to deepen economic and political integration between the two neighboring states and frame their cooperation as a pilot for wider ECOWAS regional integration. In Abuja, for News Central, Bettina Iwili.
And now our correspondent and Abuja Bureau Chief, Amadine Uyi, joins me for more on the transfer of baton in ECOWAS leadership. Amadine, good evening to you. Kindly tell us about the new ECOWAS chief, Julius Bio.
Okay, just like you said earlier, he's the president of Sierra Leone. And for the Sierra Leoneans, this is going to be a delight for them because they've not had that chairman of the Authority of Heads of States and Government since, I think, about 1981. Fortunately, it's got back to their turn. Sometimes it's a 2-year tenure. It's meant to be a 1-year tenure, but you have the opportunity to be re-elected for a second tenure. And for Nigerians, we've been very fortunate. Every Nigerian president has had the opportunity to serve as the chair of the ECOWAS Authority Heads of State and Government. In fact, right from President Olusegun Obasanjo till date, every Nigerian president has had their own shot. But for the Sierra Leoneans, just like I said, since the 1980s, they've not had that opportunity. Now they are having that opportunity, and Africa will be looking forward to their leadership.
So what does its emergence mean now for West Africa?
Now, remember that ECOWAS is a regional economic bloc. And with the states you have in ECOWAS, the presidents come together and make far-reaching decisions for the region. Now, ECOWAS has had its own challenges, just like other regional development blocs across Africa. We have about 8, but with the Alliance for Sahel states, which just started, it makes it up to 9, though they are not yet registered with the African Union. But just like others in Europe, the European Union, ECOWAS has its own challenges. But I think considerably ECOWAS has progressed. So with Sierra Leone now taking that chair, the Sierra Leonean president will be able to see if he can push development when he speaks with his fellow heads of state within the regional bloc, speak to issues affecting Sierra Leone, and so it's going to be a plus for the Sierra Leoneans, and also hopefully ECOWAS will benefit from the leadership of Maada.
Now, you talked about the Sahel states. Can Bio be a rallying point between ECOWAS and these states, the Sahel states, Niger, Burkina Faso, and the likes, that left the bloc having expressed reservations under the body while Tinubu was in power?
Now, for the Alliance for Sahel states, I don't like to compare them to ECOWAS because in terms of GDP, in terms of population, they dwarf ECOWAS. We are talking about ECOWAS almost 400 million in population. And when you talk about the Alliance for Sahel states, you are talking about just 60-something million, each of them boasting of. In fact, when you bring 4 or 5 states in Nigeria, when you bring the 4 largest states in Nigeria, Kano, Lagos, add like 2 more, they even surpass the Alliance for Sahel states in terms of number. So I don't like to have that comparison, make that comparison, because the Alliance for Sahel states still have their challenges. If you talk about data, you talk about empirical facts, you see that they are also battling terrorism. Remember that the Sahel has become a hotbed for terrorism since the fall of Libya, where a lot of weapons belonging to the former Libyan leader Muammar Gaddafi went into the wrong hands. So it got to the point is even spilling over to Nigeria because we border these states. So the Alliance for Sahel states, I think they still need to tackle their own insecurity challenges, their own developmental challenges before they can become a voice to reckon with. We're not talking about social media clickbaits and propaganda now, we are talking about facts. But for ECOWAS, ECOWAS has gone a long way. The problem with Nigerians when they view ECOWAS is that we always think that other ECOWAS member states are developed as Nigeria. Nigeria is big in size. We've achieved a lot in terms of development. We are the largest contributor to ECOWAS. We are the largest country in ECOWAS. That is why every time a Nigerian president comes on board, fellow Africa heads of state, ECOWAS member states believe that let's push it to Nigeria. There can be a rallying point. So it is Nigeria that is expected to be that rallying point to see that ECOWAS achieve its objectives and achieve its developmental aspirations. Remember, we are talking about regional integration. We are talking about a common currency. We are talking about movement between member states of the ECOWAS sub-region. So indeed, Nigeria can be that rallying point because we are the largest in terms of population, we are the largest in terms of GDP, we are the largest in terms of everything.
Okay, so having said that, Amadine, let's put the administration or the tenure of Nigeria's president in this scope. Would you say that ECOWAS has achieved more under the outgone Nigerian president, Tinubu?
Now, remember that when the alliance, when Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso pulled out following the coups in their country, many people thought that this was the disintegration of ECOWAS. This was the point where ECOWAS needed to make a decision, either going forward or it will collapse. But I still think that President Tinubu has done considerably well because even among the heads of state, there was that loss of self-belief. But President Tinubu was able to rally them, keep ECOWAS united.
Okay, I think we just lost communication with Amadine right there, but then thank you for your analysis of this particular story. And we go on a break right now. When we return, we'll bring you more stories on the news. Don't go away. Many thanks for staying with us. We talk security now. President Bola Tinubu has condemned the suicide bombing that occurred in Konduga, Borno State over the weekend, describing the incident as an act of cowardice. In a statement issued on Sunday by Special Advisor on Information and Strategy, Bayo Ononuga, the president expressed anguish over the attack and mourned those who lost their lives. Tinubu called on security agencies to intensify efforts in flushing out remnants of the Boko Haram insurgents, who he said now target civilians in soft locations. The president extended his condolences to the government and people of Borno State and directed the National Emergency Management Agency to support survivors. Now, the National Youth Stakeholders Forum has urged the federal government to recruit forest guards to address the security crisis, particularly in Borno State. The forum made the call in a statement issued by its national leader, Oladoto Hassan. They are calling for concrete reforms that will overhaul Nigeria's security framework and prioritize forest guard recruitment, increased intelligence funding, and better coordination among security agencies. Hassan stressed the need to modernize military equipment and improve synergy among the armed forces, the police, and intelligence services. He called for improved welfare packages for security personnel to prevent corruption and ensure morale remains high in tackling insecurity. And now I'm joined by two stakeholders in the security value chain. Mark Bali, who is the president of Plateau Peace Practitioner Network. And of course, I have Oladoto Hassan, who is the national leader, National Youth Stakeholders Forum. Hello, good evening, sirs. Can you hear me?
Yes, good evening. It's a pleasure to be on your program.
Okay, so I'm just going to start with you, Hassan Oladoto, because you canvassed for this. How well can forest guards address Nigeria's security crisis?
Well, we have to understand the current inferno that have bedeviled and rain wreckage of deaths, killings, mass murders, and it has now become a recurrent daily decimal from Plateau to Kano to Maiduguri, almost daily news of killings. And the best way of dealing with security is not just the duty of the army, the police alone. The citizens are the core bedrock of security. And the proposal from the federal government is one key factor the National Youth Stakeholders Forum is highly interested in, which is the coalition of all youth groups across the country, from student movement to NGO to ethnic nationalities organization. These are leaders across board in the 36 states of the Federation and FCT. And we've had meetings severally that how best can we have synergy, very solid synergy. Now that the government is coming up with the proposal for the Forest Guard, we have equally proposed to the government the National Joint Security Task Force Network, whereby with the proposed Forest Guard, it is most important that the government don't need to go far in curtailing the excesses of insurgency. Rather, they have to go in the communities to recruit able-bodied youth that are interested, volunteers, not in the number that the federal government is looking forward to. We are talking about 1 million Nigerian youth are ready to partner with the federal government, distribute themselves, be at various spots that will serve as intelligence gathering, nipping in the bud before the detonation of crisis prone area, whereby killings are being carried out in the broad daylight without any defense. But when this Forest Guard and the local task force, maybe just like we have the civilian JTF in the Northeast, this is just an expansion whereby the OPC, the hunters, everybody that are involved in local security management will be synergized, well captured, then work closely with the federal government, the Nigerian military, the intelligence, and the DSS and police, so that before the arrival of the military, the local youth that are already involved in the Forest Guard that I recruited would have submerged that insurgents at the heat of the matter itself. So,
let me quickly talk to Nanmark on this. Now, Nanmark, do you think that forest guards can actually do a better job in providing security than having a state police?
For me, I think contrarily, because I tend to see it from this angle. Like everything is being centralized. Why is it being centralized? Because when you look at it, this has not been properly factored, as in the structure of how this is supposed to be has not been properly factored. So for me, I would rather go with the community policing rather than the Forest Guard. Because for the Forest Guard, it looks more of like a centralized thing. Why is it that we keep saying everything still relies within the central? Federal government has to do this and that, the issue of security, and seeing the porous way, the way security is being handled in this country. No, that is not the way to go. Community policing should be, because the community should be the first respondents before any other person, looking at the dynamics of what is happening regarding our security architecture here in Nigeria. Thank you.
Now, Oladoto, just as you mentioned, we have the Civilian Joint Task Force, we have local vigilantes, we have Amotekun, Eastern Security Network, and the likes. Now, some people are saying that why can't we strengthen these security outfits instead, rather than have another security outfit come into play?
You know, in security management, there are different layers. I've already proposed to you that we have already written to the federal government on the need to bring and coalesce all these groups of security association, the OPC, the civilian JTF together under National Joint Security Network. That is a local community policing task force. The forest guards are more like the same set of community policing, but this one are supposed to be in the forest, where the others criminals that are really launching attacks within the forest areas across the country. You know, majority of our forests are infested with terrorists already. And the only better way for us to deal with it is for us to have forest guard. So the forest guard is a specialized arm of community policing strategy. Everything still is under the umbrella of community policing. But where we now want the federal government to work on is for us to have a legislative powers that will synergize this structure together beyond just recruitment. Beyond recruitment, there is need for adequate funding. There's need for intelligence sharing, equipment, and we're talking about sophisticated weapons for them to handle AK-47, not just all these cock and guns that are not capable to confront the dreaded terrorists. So whoever that are coming as hunters cannot be carrying a pump action when the so-called insurgents are carrying sophisticated AK-49.
Okay.
So we need this set of people to be properly equipped with highly tech equipment, with body cameras, with vehicles. These are the major. It's not just establishing the forest guard, but how to really ensure that the Nigerian police and the military are properly motivated financially. We have requested that an average military officer in the U.S. Army is well paid, is given a lot of motivations, and a lot of enabling support system are there to motivate them. So we need such for our military men.
Okay.
Our military men should not just be paid battery sum. They should be paid in a very huge sum that will give them that comfort. And the same should go for the forest guard and even our local security hunters.
All right, Oladota, I'll come to you in a bit. Now, Nanmark, there have been accusations of complicity and lack of political will to tackle insecurity in Nigeria. We know that the bulk stops on the table of the government. Now, won't this be a big barrier, this issue of political will and these accusations of complicity, when we're looking at meaningful initiatives that can actually improve security in Nigeria?
Exactly. You just said it. So political will. Because to all of it, the issue about forest guard is not, security issue is not just mere jamboree where you just bring anybody, put in there, give it, all that is there. All of this that my colleague just talked of, why is it that our regular security cannot have this? Why can't we just look at the issue of paying? Why can't we look at the issue of equipping? Why can't we look at the issue of manpower and all of it for our regular security? And even at that, if we have that political will, or if there is that sincerity of purpose, I think the issue of forest guard is just a mere jamboree. It's easier talking about security than having it done how it's supposed to be. For me, we can still utilize all these facilities that we're talking about, trying to have a forest guard too. Remember when the debate of having NCDC started, a lot of people were, oh, why do we have to, and today, we're still talking about the issue of insecurity, even with the NCDC, even with the policing and the rest, and we're still moving to the issue of forest guard again. I think the issue of security is not just mere jamboree, but being sincere about it. But if government is sincere, then let's have these bodies that are already on ground. Let's get to equip them and get them moving.
All right, Oladoto, to wrap things up, with an already lean purse, how do you expect the federal government to fund these forest guards initiative?
Well, it's a multi-funding sector initiative, and in view of the willingness of the President Bola Tinubu's intention to ensure that security of lives and property is well guaranteed, and we just believe that in dealing with this issue, there is a need for them to first of all decentralize the police to ensure that we have state policing, we have the regional policing, we have the national policing. In terms of now funding, it's going to be both government and private funding initiative. Even individuals should be readily available to donate freely, just like we have the Lagos State Security Trust Fund. There should be a National Security Trust Fund whereby our corporate multinationals will have interest in supporting. We have a lot that can be done in this regard, especially when we talk about black sport. in terms of going to Borno State, going to Plateau, all the dark spots that we are currently faced with high insurgency. There is a need for emergency plan to ensure that recruitment, training, and ensuring that those they already have, they have a proper database for whoever they are recruiting, and also ensure that they provide adequate welfare that will ensure their survival, so that the intention of fighting insecurity through both kinetic and non-kinetic approach in terms of dealing, ensuring that people are properly educated, there is proper synergy in information sharing. Sometimes the police is okay, give us information. Who are the citizens going to trust? Is it the channel of the DPO?
We understand. It's a lot of work that needs to be done if we are going to achieve quality and improved security in Nigeria. We hope that the Nigerian government will take this initiative. Oladotun Zan and of course Nambak Abali, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us on the news. Let's now go on a short break. When we return, we'll tell you about something brewing in Nigeria's business ecosystem. Do stay with us. It was a day of excitement and celebration in Lagos as small business owners gathered for the 2025 edition of Grooming Splash, an annual event organized by the Grooming Center. What began as a community gathering ended with cheers and life-changing wins for some of the center's most dedicated clients. News Central's Julius has the details.
I declare the ceremony open.
The mood was upbeat as the Grooming Center held its much-anticipated Grooming Splash, a yearly event that blends community spirit with reward. The prizes were hard to miss, from deep freezers and refrigerators to generators and coolers, essential tools for running a small business in today's economy. And for the lucky few, the wins were truly game-changing.
The best part of it for me is their joy. The smiles on their faces when they win the gifts.
Winners were drawn through a live digital raffle, broadcast on a big screen in real time. A system organizers say is designed to keep the process open and transparent.
If you have been with us more than 3 circles, which is 3 times, you've taken loan from us 3 times, you are eligible to be part of the selection.
So I got a call, and when I picked the call, they asked me my name. If my name is Mrs. Francis Nwakon, I said yes. The lady said, congratulations that you have won a generator.
When I was called, I thought it was a joke. I just got here, I said, okay, let me come and confirm for myself. And I got here, and I found out it was real. And I'm very, very happy.
For more than 18 years, the Grooming Center has provided microloans and social support programs to low-income earners with a special focus on women running small businesses across Nigeria.
This splash is to give back to our women, our client that has been with us for more than 3 circles. And when you give it back to them, the joy in them and for them to be able to start their business, if there's anyone doing business already, it's an addition to their business.
This year we started our first set of expanded scope. Before it was less than 400 gifts across the nation, but this year is over 1,300. So we are spreading it so that more people have the impact.
Despite the economic challenges facing many families, the center says its mission remains unchanged, empowering communities through access to finance and opportunity.
Because our clients are good, we think that whatever thing we do, we want to get back to them and then say we are grateful.
We have our scholarship schemes for children and grants for undergraduates and postgraduate students, mentoring and other activities that we do.
For many in the crowd, Grooming Splash 2025 was more than just a celebration. It was a powerful reminder that recognition, no matter how small, can make a big difference. In Lagos, for News Central, Sewisi Anyo.
From Lagos, we take you to Central Africa, where a Zambian peacekeeper serving with the United Nations mission in the Central African Republic has been killed in a deadly attack in the country's northeast. According to a UN statement released on Saturday, The peacekeeper died after unidentified armed elements ambushed a patrol in Amsisia, located in the volatile Fagaga province, which shares a border with war-torn Sudan. In other continents, Iran has vowed to respond to recent U.S. airstrikes on 3 of its nuclear sites, with President Masoud Pezeshkian stating that the United States must receive a response for the aggression. Meanwhile, U.S. President Donald Trump claims the strikes took the bomb right out of their hands, emphasizing the goal was to prevent Iran from acquiring nuclear weapons, not regime change. The UN's nuclear watchdog said it cannot yet assess the damage at the underground Fordo facility. And now, joining us on the news to discuss this development, I have Professor Mukesh Kapila from the University of Manchester, and he joins me from Geneva in Switzerland. Thank you so much, Professor Mukesh.
Glad to join you.
And I also have Ejike Okpa, who is a global affairs analyst, and he joins me from Texas in US. Thank you so much, Mr. Okpa, for joining us.
Well, thank you for having me.
So I start with Professor Kapila. Now, what are the key indicators to even assess the damage at Iran's Fordo facility after the strikes?
I think that the key result that the Americans and the Israelis were seeking was to destroy the centrifuges which are concentrating the uranium, which Iran is said to have been stockpiling in preparation for making its nuclear weapons. So the indicator for success is whether or not the centrifuges have been permanently damaged and beyond repair and beyond resumption of purification of the uranium.
All right, now, Ejike, what might Iran do next after saying it could respond in different ways to the attacks orchestrated by the U.S.?
I mean, Iran will do what Iran has always done. You know, they're gonna. I mean, they cannot militarily respond to what America has done. They're gonna have their own sympathizers or surrogates who's gonna try to inflict some damage on American facilities. But Iran cannot bring any weapon system, none of those into America. So, you know, we wait to see how much damage has been afflicted, and then how they respond. It is very unfortunate that in a situation like this, you know, they didn't go to the way of diplomatic route to see how they can resolve this. This is a case of, you know, going into a war with a bow and arrow. I don't care how sophisticated the Iranian nuclear system is, they can't stand up to that of America if push comes to shove. So, you know, we'll see in the next 24 hours, 48 hours, you know, the assessment and then what Iran is going to do. But it tells you something. Their defenses were very crippled because, you know, how come they didn't even see this fly into their airspace and do what they did?
Well, a lot of people are actually concerned about even the human casualties in the Middle East. So, Professor Mukesh, now, how does the fighting between Iran and Israel make the situation in the Middle East more dangerous, most especially now that even U.S. has actively waded in?
Well, I think obviously it has escalated the situation and tensions in the Middle East, that's beyond doubt. But it has also sent a warning to other parties, and that includes Iran's proxies, with whom Israel has been struggling for some time, and also to other Gulf countries that the US and Israel are not to mess around with. So we don't know what will happen, but paradoxically, it may actually calm the situation down, though that's not what everyone is commentating at the present time. But I'm optimistic that the situation will calm down simply by the warning that the US has sent. You don't mess with the US or Israel.
Now, Ejike, there's Lebanon, there's Syria, there is Iraq, and I know that a couple of days ago, the Russian president said U.S. should not actively be part of this Iran-U.S. crisis. Now that it has happened, what do you think the aftermath would be? Because the question is, shouldn't Israel and shouldn't U.S. have even taken the caution not to actually respond in this conflict?
No, your question is very interesting, but the point is it has happened. Obviously, U.S. didn't pay attention to what Putin is saying because Putin has his own hands full with what's going on with Ukraine. So again, the point is we're going to wait for the next, the days after, just always this aftermath, what's going to happen. This is supposed to be a deterrent. This is supposed to send a signal, to Iranian allies and then Iranian sympathizers. It is time for a new sort of understanding. It's a time for a new sort of, negotiation. If you want to come to the table sincerely, and Israel wants to do that. When another country says, "Hey, we're going to wipe you out," what do you think they're going to do? That country has to defend itself, and that country may also get their own supporters to do something on their behalf. I don't know whether America did this on behalf of Israel or America just did it because, Trump has said, hey, everybody in Tehran, you're going to have to do what? Evacuate. It is very, very unfortunate because people in Iran are suffering and all they're doing is concentrating on building nuclear power. Why don't you take care of yourself? Why don't you deploy that resource you have and at least stabilize your own country as opposed to exposing them to the danger? Now, who knows where Ayatollah Khamenei is, whether he's in a bunker, whether he's even in the country, but it's the average Iranian that are suffering, not him. So, I don't think anybody can bring war into America. Of course, they're going to try to do what they do, attack American facilities anywhere they go. They can. Iran say they're going to block the Strait of Hormuz about the oil, so that they won't export oil. That's not going to happen. If they try that, they're going to be hit again so hard they wouldn't know what hit them. Like we say in America, they wouldn't know what hit them. So I think if they take this as a deterrent, they can come to the table gracefully and diplomatically and say, hey, okay, how do we resolve this going forward?
Now, Professor Mukesh, Russia has over 4,000 nuclear warheads. U.S. has about 3,700 nuclear arsenal. Between U.S. and Israel, it's about 950 nuclear arsenal. But then they are trying to force Iran to come to the table. Does it reek of hypocrisy?
Well, to be honest, the numbers look impressive and one-sided, but even one nuclear weapon would wreak huge damage. One modern nuclear weapon would result in at least 600,000 casualties and million deaths and millions otherwise affected. So it doesn't really matter how many missiles any side has. Even one would be too much. So in that sense, yes, there is hypocrisy, but then there's hypocrisy on all sides, Russian side with what they're doing in Ukraine and the alliance between Iran and Russia, and of course the American and Israeli alliance. So, yep, but nobody has a monopoly on that hypocrisy, not any side.
Thank you so much, Professor Mukesh, Kapila, and of course, Ejike Okpa, for sharing your thoughts with us on the news.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's go on a break now. We'll be back with the rest of the stories.
In the world of sport, the Nigerian Football Federation has confirmed that the Super Falcons will face Portugal's women's national team in a friendly match on Monday, June 24 in Lisbon. The game is part of the team's final preparations for the 13th Women's African Cup of Nations WAFCON, set to begin next month in Morocco. The Falcons departed Abuja on Sunday, traveling via Casablanca to Lisbon, with additional players expected to join in camp. The match will kick off at 7 p.m. Nigerian time at the Estadio José Gomez. Another warm-up game against Ghana's Black Queens is scheduled for June 29 in Morocco, ahead of the tournament's kickoff. Nigeria secured a 7th-place finish at the 2025 African Men's Sevens Tournament after defeating regional rivals Ghana 1912 in a tightly contested placement match. The tournament held in Mauritius.
Up next is sports news.
In the world of sport, the Nigerian Football Federation has confirmed that the Super Falcons will face Portugal's women's national team in a friendly match on Monday, June 24 in Lisbon. The game is part of the team's final preparations for the 13th Women's African Cup of Nations WAFCON, set to begin next month in Morocco. The Falcons departed Abuja on Sunday, traveling via Casablanca to Lisbon, with additional players expected to join in camp. The match will kick off at 7 p.m. Nigerian time at the Estadio José Gomez. Another warm-up game against Ghana's Black Queens is scheduled for June 29 in Morocco, ahead of the tournament's kickoff. Nigeria secured a 7th-place finish at the 2025 African Men's Sevens Tournament after defeating regional rivals Ghana 1912 in a tightly contested placement match. The tournament held in Mauritius showcased fast-paced rugby action from across the continent. South Africa emerged as champions, delivering a dominant performance through to lift the title. In one of the tournament's most dramatic moments, Zimbabwe stunned Kenya with a last-minute converted try to end the tie 21-19. Though Nigeria fell short of the top tier, the win over Ghana ends the campaign on a high note and signals growing promise in Nigerian rugby. Team Nigeria have officially unveiled its 12-member squad for the 23rd African Fencing Championships, set to take place from June 25 to 29, 2025 in Carter House, Lagos. This marks the 3rd time the continental tournament will be hosted in sub-Saharan Africa. Leading the Nigerian team is US-based Nkosibru, a 17-year-old bronze medalist at the 2025 African Junior Championships. Brew is joined by UK-based Oluwafolayemi Akinyoshoye and several local fencers including Indogesi brothers, Oluwamuyiwa Ige and Orishema Tosan Egbesemirone. The women's lineup features Peluola Akimbamiro and Somto Erigbenne. Nigeria will compete in both individual and team events across foil, EP and sabre. Over 15 African nations are expected to participate in the championship. Finally, in the world of sport, Nigerian basketball fans are buzzing ahead of the highly anticipated Game 7 of the NBA Finals between Oklahoma City Thunder and Indiana Pacers. With the championship on the line on Sunday, fans in Lagos and beyond are sharing their predictions and excitement.
My team is the Lakers, but I'm an OKC fan because of what the team has been able to do for the past 2 seasons. They've been arguably the best team in the NBA for the past 2 seasons, and they are the best team in the West.
I'm expecting 100% energy from both teams. Right from the beginning of the season, Pacers have been underrated. Like, nobody saw it coming from Pacers. But from the Western Conference Finals to now Game 6, Ali Burton has given us, what he's giving us, we're not expecting.
Really tough one. I really want the OKC Thunders to win because SGA, Jalen Williams, Caruso, I really want these guys to win home grid. But right now, the Pacers with a very decisive win in Game 6, it's anyone's game. But I believe the home crowd in OKC will push the Thunder over the line. So Thunders to win Game 7.
And that's it in the world of sport. I am Onyinyechi Obaro.
And that's all on the news at this hour, but then we look at our major stories before we go. President Tinubu hands over as ECOWAS chair to Sierra Leone's Julius. Tinubu mourns Borno suicide bombing and Kano explosion victims. We also told you that a Zambian UN peacekeeper has been killed in Northeast Central African Republic ambush. Don't forget to send your eyewitness report to the WhatsApp number on the screen, and you can follow us on social media. We are at News Central TV. Watch us live on DSTV channel 422, GoTV channel 23, Star Times channel 274, Avo TV, and YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I am Lekon Onobanjo.